This podcast is brought to you by lineupmedia.fm.
You know what they say about one bad apple? Well, we've got two. Gather round, boys and girls, and get ready for a different kind of story time. It's American Animals. All your favorite athletes, entertainers, and weirdos are coming to you like you've never heard them before. It's uncensored. It's not safe for work. It's a goddamn zoo. From the OC to oh shit. Join Erik, Bad Apple, and Ian, Uncle Creepy McCall. Every Wednesday on Hot Button from 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific. American Animals on Hot Button. Get some.
All right, guys, welcome to American Animals, episode number 22 with your host, Erik, Bad Apple. And normally we're here with Ian, Uncle Creepy McCall, but hello? No, there's nobody here with me. That's because Ian McCall is in Belfast, Ireland, or maybe Dublin. I can't remember. We'll have to look here in just a minute. But he's in Ireland. He's going to be competing this week, one of the best flyweights in the world. And he wants to remind everyone, that's right, Belfast. He wants to remind everyone why he's one of the best, and he wants to get back up there into title contention. And that is Uncle Creepy's plan after taking on, I believe his name is Neil Seary. Neil's he's an Irish guy, I believe. So we're going to see Ian going into enemy territory over there and trying to put on a show. But that's okay. You can hang out with me, Erik Apple, for the next hour and a half or so until you get sick of me or until I get tired of doing this. But, man, we have so much to talk about this week, both in the world of sports and mixed martial arts and just in the world in general. I mean, man, there's so much going on in the world, and it seems like the world is just freaking out. I don't know about you guys. I mean, after we saw over a week ago, Donald Trump, President-elect Trump, is going to be taking over the country. And whether you like it or not, I mean, it's got to be, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's entertaining to see all of the craziness that is going on with people just freaking out and panicking. There's so much unrest by everybody, by liberals, by the media, by women. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think Trump is a great option, but nothing makes me happier than seeing all these liberal people just whine and cry like fucking little bitches. It's hilarious that the same people who were so worried and whining and saying, "Oh, Trump and his people better go along with the program, and when they lose, they better go peacefully." And now they're the ones out who are protesting like crazy and getting violent and attacking conservatives or people who supported Trump and attacking businesses and business owners and destroying property. And then we see these kids. I'm reading all over about these kids who are leaving school, walking out. Like high school kids. I mean, I understand if you're an adult, you're in college, you're over 18, you do whatever the fuck you want. But high school kids are just saying, we're all going to walk out, and who's letting these kids do this shit? I could not imagine when I was 14, 15, 16 years old going, I don't like the way politics are going, and I'm going to walk out of school. Like, what the fuck? Who are these kids' parents? It's like the baby boomer generation or Generation X. It's like the kids of Generation X are a bunch of fucking pussies. These millennials are ridiculous. I don't know how else to say it. I'm not trying to offend everyone, but it blows my mind that these high school kids are walking out. And then we got the college kids who have these safe spaces where they have Play-Doh and cupcakes and puppies and donkeys. These kids are a bunch of fucking donkeys as far as I'm concerned. So then they're spending like government money, public money on these kids' crying about shit, which fucking blows my mind. Like, for my tax dollars to be supporting these kids being pussies is really upsetting. Super upsetting. Like, come on. I mean, if you work in the government or you work in politics and you want to fucking flip out, fine. But you're a kid. You're in school. Somebody's paying for your tuition. Your parents are paying for you to go to college. Stop being a little fucking wuss and fucking get your shit done and get ready to go out in the real world and have a job. You guys are crying. You guys, this is the trophy. What's it called? The participation trophy generation. And the guy, the candidate that they like lost, and they cry about it. Like, come on. Again, I'm not a huge fan of Trump, but come on, you guys are embarrassing. Really embarrassing. I'm scared for the youth of this nation, and the pussification of America is overwhelming. And I'm not gonna lie, I think I'm honestly really, really laughing about man. The leaders of other countries must be just like, what the fuck is going on? And then plus, all these people, I know some of the people in England, some of the British government employees and the people over there who were like the ambassadors and stuff, they all made fun of Trump and talked a bunch of shit. I know Angela Merkel from Germany, who lets anybody and everyone fucking come into her country and trample on them. She talked a bunch of shit. And all those people had to make a phone call to the president elect and be like, hey, I can't wait to work with you. Come on, get the fuck out of here with that shit. I mean, after they talked a bunch of shit and clowned the guy, they're like, well, fuck, the guy just got the most important job in the world. Guess I better kiss his ass and suck some dick and hope he's nice to me. So there's that. So that shit's going pretty good. Then we got these other people who, have you seen this? These people trying to do this change.org, they're trying to get, what's it called? They're trying to get this thing signed, a petition, to turn over how the government works and how the presidential election works and get rid of the Electoral College. Well, guys, I know you don't like Trump, but you realize that it's too little too late. You can't get rid of it now. It's too late. The election's over. Like, you really think a petition is going to change the Constitution of America? First of all, it would have to come down to I believe it would have to come down to the Supreme Court. Those judges would have to change the Constitution to allow the Electoral College to go away. And then I see on TV today, I see two of the Electoral College the college electors, whatever they're called. Of course, one's from Washington and Colorado, two states that went Democrat. They're going to try to encourage the other Electoral College electorates to not do what they were voted to do, to go against the vote of each of their states and put somebody else in, which theoretically, I guess they can. They would only get a small fine, and not even a felony in most states, if they did that, which would be mind-blowing, just absolutely mind-blowing. So then we got President-elect Trump going on 60 Minutes and everything the other day. It was pretty interesting too, because he seems to back off a couple of things. It sounds like he doesn't want to get rid of all illegal immigrants. He wants to start off with illegal immigrants that are criminals, which I'm 100% down for. I just don't understand these people who are like, everyone and anyone in the world can fucking come here and stay here and collect benefits like that. Come on. How the fuck? I mean, I understand you guys want to be nice and you want to accept everybody, but like what? Like, oh, just come here and take, live off our tax money. I don't get it. I don't get it. Look, I understand that we need people here and that illegal immigrants, a lot of them work really hard, and a lot of them do jobs that other people don't want to do. I get it. I understand. I live in Southern California. I grew up around all Mexicans. A lot of them probably weren't legal or they were undocumented, whatever you want to call it. And I'm cool with that. I understand. And most of them are probably hardworking people. But there's some out there that are over here collecting benefits, having kids, and aren't doing shit. So, there's good and bad of everybody. I don't know what to say. So, man, the whole world's freaking out over Trump, and it's hilarious. And then we got the stuff with the press. So Trump hasn't even officially hired anyone for his cabinet. They've talked about a couple people. And there's a couple, the Steve Bannon guy, and a couple different people that he wants to bring in there, and people are fucking losing their minds. And then the media is going off on Steve Bannon, saying he's a white nationalist, an anti-Semite. And then we got the Jewish press and all these Zionist organizations saying they love him and he's not an anti-Semite. So then it's like you look at the press and you're like, well, if the Jewish people over here are saying that they love him and he loves them, how the fuck can you say he's anti-Semitic? I don't get it. And let's go with Trump too. How the fuck are people going to say that he's anti-Semitic when his daughter's an Orthodox Jew, married to a well-known Jew? All of his business partners are Jews. He's done so much for the Jewish community. And Benjamin Netanyahu, the fucking prime minister of Israel, when Trump won the election last week, he fucking was jumping for joy, sending out public videos congratulating Donald Trump because he fucking loves Donald Trump so much. So I don't get it. If Jews and minorities are saying how much they, certain of the leaders like Jesse Jackson and Benjamin Netanyahu are talking about how dope Donald Trump is, how the fuck are people trying to convince other people that he's racist? I just don't get it. It's like that thing you saw, or it's all over Facebook. It's one of those memes. Donald Trump was never accused of being racist until he competed against the Democrats, and I kind of believe it. Kind of makes sense. We got a lot of shit coming up though. I mean, man, we got heaviness going on in Syria. Russians stepping up their attacks over in Syria. Putin and Trump already going back and forth. But I know Assad and Putin have already talked about how happy they are and they look forward to working with President Trump. The Philippines saying the same thing. So man, it's gonna get interesting. It's gonna get interesting. We got a good guest today here on American Animals. We're gonna have none other than Gilbert Melendez, former lightweight champion of Strikeforce. He was formerly the number one featherweight fighter in the world. He's had a couple big UFC fights, couple go real close to going his way, but they went the other way, split decision losses. Almost had that belt twice. And man, we're gonna have him on a little bit. Before that, we're gonna recap UFC 205 and go over the current events in MMA.
Hey guys, this is Erik Apple from American Animals, and if you like our show and you're a real MMA fan, you got to check out Funky Van Askren, Joe Warren, and Sean Wheelock on the Lineup MMA podcast. These guys got some of the biggest name guests in the entire sport of fighting, and they talk about the shit that other fighters are scared to talk about. So check them out on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or lineupmma.com.
The first time the UFC has had an event in New York in years and years and years, probably since Ken Shamrock fought way back in Buffalo in 2003 or some shit like that, maybe sooner. Let's go over that card a little bit before we get on to stuff we're looking up to. So this last weekend we saw the card open up with Liz Carmouche beating Caitlin Chukagian. I was not saying her name. Moving on, Jim Miller and Thiago Alves. That was a big matchup, and it kind of got a little bit, started to get overlooked once Thiago Alves, he was almost 10 pounds overweight, I believe. He was so I think he was 7 or 8 pounds overweight. He was so overweight that Jim Miller had to gain weight in order for the state of New York to allow the fight. Now, the state of New York only allows fights if each fighter is within 5 pounds of the other. So Thiago Alves was something like 163 or 162 and a half. So Jim Miller weighed in at 155, and then he realized he had to rehydrate to 157, 158 just for the fight to be allowed because he wanted to get paid. Part of the rule for that fight, or part of the agreement, was that Thiago was not allowed to rehydrate more than 10 pounds, I believe. And I guarantee he dehydrated more than 10 pounds. So he fought semi-dehydrated. I put money on Jim Miller, knowing that Thiago wasn't going to be feeling good. And Jim Miller was able to beat Thiago Alves by a unanimous decision. He was able to take him down and control him for a pretty good portion of the fight. Tim Boetsch, Rafael Natal. Tim Boetsch, he's one of those guys who's kind of off and on. Some nights he just looks like a killer, and other nights he doesn't. I don't understand what's going on with him. Sometimes he looks amazing. Sometimes he looks scary. He always has that KO power. But he was able to TKO, basically KO'd Rafael Natal in the first round. Like I said, Tim Boetsch usually looks pretty scary. Sometimes he's off, but this last week he looked real good. Moving on to an important match. Habib I can always screw it up. Habib Nurmagomedov Nurmi versus Michael Johnson. This was intense. Now, Khabib is a guy who Khabib is just so tough. He's 24-0 now. Never lost at MMA or the UFC, obviously. And he's been pretty fucking dominant. I mean, he's beat top guys. He's beat Rafael dos Anjos. Michael Johnson's a tough dude. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but Khabib beating up on Michael Johnson was scary. Now, he got wobbled one time in the first round. After that, controlled it. But the shots that he was landing when he was ground and pounding Michael Johnson were fucking heavy, scary. Like, not like a slap or a thud. It was like a deep, like, just like meat, like douche, douche. And he was talking to Michael Johnson while he was doing it, which was fucking just, I can't imagine having someone kick the shit out of you and talk to you while you do it in such a calm voice. You know, it's one of those things where, I mean, these guys from Dagestan and all these Baltic, scary Russian republics are just fucking scary people. If you guys haven't seen it already, please go on YouTube and search Khabib Nurmagomedov wrestles bear. As a child, his father had him wrestle a bear. Literally. Like a fucking real bear. Not a koala bear. Not a teddy bear. A fucking bear. So if that gives you an idea of how fucking crazy these people are, it's awesome. I mean, it's awesomely crazy. It's hilarious. I think it's great. Khabib is fucking scary. He has to be, number one or number two at 155, as far as getting a shot. It's either him or Tony that deserves the next shot at 155 against Conor. But with Conor now, who fucking knows? We're going to get to that later. But he stopped Michael Johnson in the third round, and it could have been stopped way earlier. And Michael Johnson is a man because he took some fucking legit abuse. Some fucking brain damage shit. And he must have really tough skin because he didn't cut or bleed that I saw at all, too. That's one thing I noticed. He took some big shots. Khabib, he got him with a Kimura. Fuck, I was scared he's going to break Michael Johnson's arm. Khabib's a really good sportsman, though. I'm not going to lie. Khabib, he did the Kimura slow and let Michael Johnson tap. He didn't want to break his arm. He kept telling him to tap, dude. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt you. And I think he was saying in between rounds, hey, guys, stop. You guys should tell him stop the fight. I don't want to hurt him. He felt bad, rightly so, because he was fucking dishing out some legit abuse. It was legit violence. Okay. The main fight of the undercard on Fox Sports 1 was Frankie Edgar, former 155-pound champion, fighting Jeremy Stephens at featherweight. The first thing when you saw this fight, the first thing I noticed was Jeremy Stephens looks like a fucking welterweight. The dude is bigger than me, literally. He's ridiculous. He's fucking huge. Frankie, as always, looked great. I mean, fuck. I mean, even his last fight when he lost to Aldo, he looked good. But God, Frankie is such a hard worker and a hustler, and he just goes and goes and goes. And I have to think that a 3-round fight for him is nothing. He's done so many 5-round fights. He's done so many 5-round fights that a 3-round fight must be fucking cake for him because he just full sprints through all 3 rounds. 15 minutes of sprinting from Frankie Edgar. Just outworked him. Landed punches, takedown attempts. Controlled Jeremy a little bit on the ground. It was scary, though, because Jeremy's that guy who swings fucking for the fences, and he could be losing a fight and win at any moment, and you get that feeling when he fights. You're like, God damn. Okay, let's move on to the main card. Raquel Pennington takes out Miesha Cupcake Tate. Now, Miesha Tate's someone I know from the Strikeforce days when I was there. Man, Miesha, she looked flat as could be. Now, Raquel Pennington is a very, very good fighter. She's world class. She's one of the best in the world. Miesha Tate was the favorite, as she should have been. This was actually the only fight on the card. You guys are not going to believe this. The only fight on the card I lost. So for our social media, we did a thing where we picked a winner for every fight. I got every single one right except for this fight. Miesha Tate lost. I thought she was going to win. And after I picked that, I found out that Miesha Tate had a horrible camp and just nothing was going her way. And she just didn't want to be there. And it looked like it when she fought. She loses an unanimous decision, 30-27 all the way across. Well, one judge gave 29-28. I don't know how. Okay, next fight. Former middleweight champion Chris Weidman took on the Soldier of God, Yoel Romero. And that was one that a lot of people didn't know how it was going to go. Yoel was the underdog, and he was a live dog, and I took him. And, man, he fucking lit Weidman up. He opened up a fucking faucet in the side of Chris Weidman's head with a flying knee that KO'd him and fucking bled him out all over. And it was no fucking joke. It was big and scary. Yoel Romero making a big statement. He looking like he's going to be the number one contender because Jacare and Luke Rockhold, their fight got canceled. So now he's calling out Bisping, and they had their little thing there afterwards. And fuck. I mean, I don't want to be a dick and count out Bisping again because I counted him out against Anderson Silva and he won. I counted him out against fucking Luke Rockhold and he won. I like Mike a lot, but I'm always honest with my fight predictions. I mean, how's he going to beat up Romero? I don't know. But if he can beat up Anderson Silva and beat Luke Rockhold, he can beat Romero. But, I mean, when you just look at how big and strong Romero is, fuck, he looks jacked. The dude has muscles on top of muscles where there's not supposed to be muscles. He looks like he could squeeze the fucking life out of anybody. He's so explosive and strong. Moving on. Women's title fight, 115 pounds. Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Karolina. Two Polish women. Pretty interesting to have two Polish women fighting for the championship of the world. It's kind of random and I don't know. It's cool. Joanna Champion, this is her nickname. Joanna is one of the meanest and scariest fighters, not just women, but of any fighter. She's fucking scary. And she outpointed Karolina 80% of the fight. She did lose a round. Karolina fucking dropped her or wobbled her pretty solid in the fourth round, and you thought she might be able to finish it. But Karolina wasn't able to capitalize on it. However, she won a round, and she won the respect of Joanna and pretty much everyone else for that weight class. It was a tough fight. Both those girls looked real tough. I'm not going to lie. They both looked real tough. Moving on, Tyron Woodley, my old friend from the Strikeforce days. Fought on the same card with him before in Kansas City, actually. Tyron taking on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Man, this fight was crazy, and it was frustrating to watch. Now, it was a majority draw. What that means is two judges said it was a draw. One picked a winner. The one that picked a winner did pick Tyron. Now, here's the problem that is upsetting people is that one judge saw the first round as a 10-8 and one saw the fourth round as a 10-8. So, but they both saw different things. So, man, the thing with 10-8 rounds is fucking up scoring because, I mean, the judges got to all get on the same page. A 10-8 round is supposed to be one you absolutely dominate. Now, you could say that Tyron dominated the first round and the fourth round because he almost finished the fight. I thought he almost finished the fight in the fourth round. I never thought it was going to be finished in the first, but, I mean, you would think all three judges would have said the fight was a 10-8 in the fourth round. And, man, I felt like Woodley coasted a little bit. I mean, the rounds that Tyron won, he won big. The rounds that he lost by a little bit. But as the case with the people who saw GSP, you remember when everyone thought he lost his title, but he held on to it. It's like you win around by a little bit, you win around by a lot, but it's still 10-9 because the 10-8s don't happen very often. So, man, Tyron, I felt like he kind of coasted. He gave that fifth round away after almost fucking killing Stephen Thompson in the fourth, and he ended up with a draw that, the judges, everyone fucked up. And I don't think it was Bruce Buffer's fault. I think whoever wrote it down, they wrote split decision or majority decision. But it's not a majority decision. See, a majority decision is when there's one draw from a judge and the two judges say fighter A wins. That's a majority decision. So I don't think he wrote it down wrong. I think someone else did. I'm not sure. Moving on to the main event. Conor McGregor, featherweight champion of the world, took the belt from Jose Aldo just about almost a year ago now. Fought Nate Diaz twice since then. And he took on Eddie Alvarez for the lightweight title. Now, here's what's interesting is Conor McGregor's moving up in weight, and he's bigger than Eddie Alvarez. I don't know how that happens. That's one of the things that I definitely noticed. He looked taller. They're listed at the same height, but Conor looked an inch, 2, maybe even 3 inches taller. He looks bigger. And man, when Conor has that reach on you and that height, fuck, he just dots you and just laser beam accuracy. He's like a fucking sniper. Eddie, he never got his wrestling going. I don't know if he really tried that hard. He shot a couple times and was stopped relatively easily by Conor, who is supposedly doesn't have that good at wrestling. I don't believe his wrestling is that great. There's nothing you can tell me is going to convince me his wrestling is great. It might be okay. But sometimes there's guys who, the way they move and their awareness of where you are and where they are and the way they throw their punches, they don't, that is their wrestling defense because of where they are. It's hard to explain. But Eddie never got his wrestling off. I don't know if that's because Eddie just blew it or if Conor was able to just move around the correct way and make his wrestling look bad. But nonetheless, Conor dropped him 2 or 3 times, 3 times in the first round, dropped him the second, and just fucking unloaded on him. And that was it. He made Eddie look stupid. And Eddie's a tough guy who's had wars with some of the best in the world. And damn, I don't know what to say. It was mean. It was real mean. All right, so that's our recap of UFC 205.
Hey guys, this is Erik Apple from American Animals, and wow, I was listening to the Ocho Man Behind the 8 Ball podcast the other day, and I realized this might be one of the funniest fucking shows I've ever heard. You've got to check it out. These guys do 2 shows a week on the Lineup Media FM network, and I'm listening to all of them now. You can get them on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or ochoman.com.
American Animals is back. You're hanging out with Erik Apple. Ian McCall is in Ireland. He fights this week. Make sure you watch. Make sure you cheer him on, guys. And we are still hanging out, though. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about. We just talked a little bit about current events in the world. Opening the show, we had our first song. Came back, talked a little bit about UFC 205, which was just a great event for the sport. Great event for our sport. And now let's talk about some of the other things that we have going on or things upcoming in the world of MMA and UFC. One thing I'm seeing Conor's coach, Kavanaugh, he really seems to be in the media a lot. He talks a lot. And I see him talking about they're calling for a third Nate Diaz fight, which I'm a Nate Diaz fan. I'm down with Nate Diaz. I sponsored him for years. I want to see him do well, and I want to see him make a lot of money. But I think it's interesting that they're calling out Nate because I feel like they're trying to avoid Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson. I think they're definitely avoiding the Khabib Nurmagomedov thing. Now, they talked about, I know that Dana talked about and Joe Rogan talked about the UFC is really making strides to get into Russia real soon. So that's a big deal. And if they do that, Khabib is going to be, they're going to be cheering and really asking for him. And there's 120 million people in Russia, which is a big deal. So I could see that happening, but man, I don't know if Conor would. I mean, can you see Conor going to Russia and fighting in Russia? I don't know. I really don't know. I think he's going to avoid that. Now we also have this beef starting to brew on TMZ and in the world of the media between Floyd Money Mayweather and Conor McGregor. Now Mayweather obviously is the undefeated world champion boxer, arguably the best boxer of all time. He's definitely one of the top 3 defensive boxers of all time. He's one of the hardest people that there's ever been to hit. So, somebody saw Floyd the other day, asked him, "What did you think about Conor's fight?" Floyd played dumb, which he's full of shit. He said, "Oh, I didn't even know he fought. I don't pay attention. I'm not a Conor McGregor fan. He's not big enough for me to really care about," which is, I'm not really surprised. So then, he said, I don't really worry about him. He's not undefeated. He doesn't have, he wasn't champion in 7 or whatever 9 weight classes. He never made 300 million in one night. He never even made 100 million in one night. He said, "I'm an elephant. He's an ant. Elephants don't beef with ants," which is kind of funny. And I get it. Because look, all the hype around Conor McGregor. Imagine if there was this much hype around Conor McGregor for 10 years. 15 years. Because that's what Floyd's had. So I get it. But Floyd's a businessman. He wants to make money, so he might be paying a little bit of attention. He might be paying, I'm sure he's paying more attention than he's letting on, everyone. I guarantee you that right there. So he talked about, I'm an elephant, he's an ant. And then we had a response from Conor saying, come say that shit to my face. And then Conor jumped on the mic at One Oak in New York last night talking about, I want $100 million cash and I will fight Floyd in a boxing match, not MMA. I'll do it in boxing. Which is interesting. Pretty interesting. So, man, another thing I'm seeing is that the prelims from the other night, UFC 205, it only finished third best. So it didn't break all the records. It did it averaged 1.8 million viewers, which is not the biggest because when McGregor fought Aldo last year, they did 1.93 million. And in the first Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz fight, they did 1.84 million viewers on average for the prelims on Fox Sports. So interesting that this did not break it. But they're thinking that this broke the pay-per-view record, which I wouldn't be surprised. What else do we have going on? We have UFC Fight Night 99 and UFC Fight Night 100 coming up. Those are going to be some pretty interesting cards. Not too many big, crazy fights. Let's talk about who we have on these cards. UFC 199, Fight Night 199 is Mousasi versus Hall 2. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago on the show. Gegard Mousasi's got to be pretty stoked because he was controlling the fight with Uriah Hall. Uriah Hall did a spinning back kick, hurt Mousasi. Uriah Hall came in and finished it. But a lot of people considered it sort of a fluke, which I kind of agree. Mousasi was controlling that fight. And usually when you lose a fight like that, you don't get a quick chance to redeem yourself. And Mousasi's getting that shot here real quick. So he's a lucky guy. He's a real lucky guy. I see Mousasi winning that fight, but like I said, Uriah Hall, man, he got it before. So fuck. You never know. Mousasi should win though, unless something crazy happens again. Unless lightning strikes twice. Ross Pearson fighting, always a good guy to see fight. He's an awesome guy, exciting fighter, always bringing it. I see Artem's fighting again. That's Conor's teammate, the Russian from Ireland. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not impressed watching Artem. Artem's a strong guy. He's an athletic guy, but I don't know how to say it without sounding like a dickhead. I'm just not excited about seeing him fight. He's never really seemed that amazing to me. I don't know. I don't want to be an asshole, but there it is. The main fight on the prelims. Of course, my co-host Ian McCall taking on Neil Siri. Ian's 13-5. Neil Siri's 16-12. Look for Ian to do well on that fight. Who else we have on this card? Ali Baganatov. Not too many other big names on that card. Zach Cummings, I see. We know him. That's going down November 19th at the SSE Arena in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Make sure you guys check that out. Also, the same night in Brazil, UFC Fight Night 100, Ryan Bader versus Antonio Rogério Nogueira. That's Little Nog. Now, they fought years ago and Bader won. So we have a rematch here years and years later. Kind of interesting. Also, Thales Leites fighting on that card. Thales is a real tough Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. And he had a great run in the UFC before and left the UFC, and now he's back. So let's see how he does. I think he has a couple wins as well. Manny Gambirian, he's also on the card from Ultimate Fighter fame. He was on the same season as Robert Emerson and Nate Diaz and Cole Miller and all those guys. So we'll look forward to seeing that for sure. Also, I'm seeing in the news this week, we see Lyoto Machida has been suspended for 18 months by USADA. Whoops. Man, USADA just does not fuck around. And we talked about it last week. We talked about, they gave John Jones a year suspension after he showed them that he didn't mean to cheat when he took his fucking boner pills, but he cheated. I don't know what to say. Also, Roy Nelson suspended for 9 months by the Brazilian Commission for kicking John McCarthy. That's because he was upset that they didn't stop the fight in time when he was fighting, I think, Bigfoot. Oh, boy. All kinds of suspensions going on. Sports not like it used to be, huh? Man. Fuck around these days. You get in trouble. Not like the old days when it was a wild, wild west. Do whatever the fuck you want and nobody knows about it. Man, with everyone being on the internet, it's damn. It's crazy. It's crazy. Another thing I want to mention is that Ryan Bader is going to be a free agent after this fight with Nogueira. He wants to renegotiate after this fight, so he's definitely believing that he's going to win. Another thing that we didn't talk about, but I did read about, is that Nate Diaz. I should text him and ask. Or we can ask our guest. Is that Nate Diaz? He crashed Conor's party in New York, his victory party. So that's kind of funny. That's real funny. I don't know what to say. I think it's hilarious that that he would just show up. But that's Nate's style. And Nate's over there chilling. That's one thing I was also thinking about. I want to know what you guys think about this, is how much does Conor McGregor's victory over Eddie Alvarez, how much does that raise Nate Diaz's stock? Because Nate Diaz put a beat down on Conor not that long ago. It was not that long ago. So, with people talking about the greatest ever or the best lightweight in the world being Conor McGregor, well, fuck, Nate Diaz beat him this year. So what do you say to that? And the other thing we also see is Conor was starting all kinds of shit at UFC 205 with Tyron Woodley and other fighters. And Tyron like laughed at him like, yo, everybody have too much, more than you can chew. And I kind of agree. It's one thing to move up and fight Eddie Alvarez. And this is part of Conor's, I don't know if it's part of their strategy or their management. I feel like they're smart guys because they know that Eddie Alvarez is not that big. And Conor says it himself. You have to have reach on me. You better have height on me. You better have weight on me. Eddie don't have those things. So he moved up to fight someone, but he didn't really move up. He fighting someone the same size as him, or Eddie's even smaller. So what's the difference? He's not really moving up. He just fighting another dude, a guy who's theoretically in another weight division, but they're the same size. But moving up and fighting Khabib, or moving up and fighting Tony, who's almost 6 feet tall, moving up and fighting Tyron Woodley, who's not quite 6 feet tall, but he's a big boy, and he got a lot of muscle on him. And I'll tell you right now, Tyron Woodley grab a hold of Conor, it's gonna be a bad night for Conor. If they just get in a clinch, I'd be shocked if you put Tyron and Conor in an over-under clinch. You can't tell me Conor's gonna fucking not get taken down. I don't know. I'm a Conor fan. I think he's great for the sport, but he's gonna get taken down by him. There's no way he's not. I don't know what to tell you guys. I know you guys, there's a lot of guys out there who are freaking out, who are in love with Conor. And listen, I think he's great for the sport, growing the sport, getting more money for the fighters, and he's helping everyone by leading the way. But, Tyron grab a hold of him. And then I was thinking another horrible matchup is Wonder Boy. Is Conor going to outpoint him? I don't know. Wonder Boy is he undefeated in kickboxing? I don't know. It's an exciting time, though. It's an exciting time to be an MMA fan. That is 100% true. We're going to come back with our guest, Gilbert Melendez, here in just a moment on American Animals. And guys, if you haven't already, please find us, www.2americananimals.com. 2americananimals.com. Also at 2 American Animals on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Find us and follow us. And, yeah.
Hey guys, Erik Apple from American Animals here, and guess what? Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. And you get it right through our website. I'll tell you one example and a great thing I would recommend. I'm a Star Wars fan, and the best thing to do is listen to audiobooks, the Star Wars audiobooks. They're great, and they have awesome sound effects as well. So download your free audiobook today. Go to audibletrial.com/animals. Again, that's audibletrial.com/animals for your free audiobook, or check out our website, www.2americananimals, and that's the number 2americananimals.com.
Make sure, once again, if you guys haven't already, you find us on @2 American Animals on all your social media. Also, www.2americananimals.com. You can check out all of our past episodes and our current one there. And now we're moving on to have our guest of the week, none other than El Nino, Gilbert Melendez. Gilbert, thanks for calling in for us, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me. Always a good time with Erik Apple.
You never know. You never know. Gilbert, I wanted to talk to you about all kinds of stuff, but man, you got something kind of pressing on your mind, and that's your wife. That's Carrie. She's having her first MMA fight, not her first fight, but her first MMA fight this weekend. Tell us what's up.
Yeah, what's up is she's been training her butt off for a long time. She's kind of been in the passenger seat, really standing by my side and backing me up in my career, and now it's her time to shine, dude. And she's been training silently, in the corner and hiding out and taking care of business this whole time. So I'm really pumped for her to make her MMA debut, and training camp's been going real well. She got a little bit of a cough, so I'm a little pissed about that, but she's toughing it out, and things are good, man. We're on track, just got to do the weight cut, 116 pounds she has to make, and we'll be good.
Nice. And that's going on at Bellator 165 coming up this Saturday, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Main event is Benson Henderson versus Michael Chandler. So that'll be a good one for for her to get some eyeballs on that Spike TV one. So I'm jazzed for her. And
that's in San Jose, correct?
Yeah, SAP Center, San Jose, California. I mean, that's my old stomping grounds where I fought Benson for the title and beat Josh Thompson for the title. So, yeah, that's home fair for us.
I love how you threw that in. I love it.
That's why for that.
And there's, I'm sure, I don't know if Carrie appreciates it as much as you do or as much as I would, but fighting in your hometown is, man, I mean, we talked about it all the time. Traveling or flying somewhere far to go fight is the worst. Fighting in your backyard is the best.
Yeah, no, totally, man. Especially,
sleeping in your own bed.
Yeah, I think eventually we will. We're going to be headed to the hotel tonight and hang out there. But Friday night, we'll come home and it'll be an empty house just for her and I, and sleep in our own bed. Exactly. Nice, soft, king-size bed.
Nothing like sleeping at home in your own bed, being around all the stuff that you're used to, and eating the food that you're used to before a fight. Because people who don't fight don't understand, because that stuff is real important, isn't it?
Absolutely, bro. You nailed it. You nailed it right there. I mean, nothing is better than being in the comfort of your home to, just going through the same. Just another day in the office. Just another day. So you're absolutely right with that. You hit it right in the money.
Now, man, what an advantage and what a leg up Carrie has getting into the MMA world. Now, I know when you guys met, she was already kickboxing, correct?
Yeah, no, correct. She already was about 2 years deep in kickboxing. 2.5 years deep kickboxing, and had a couple amateur and smoker fights, and she was at this other gym, and until I sold her for myself, got her arcs.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say, what an advantage and what a leg up to get to go in your MMA debut, not only having years of kickboxing experience, but to have a husband who's fought and won all over the world against the best competition in the world. I mean, man, it really is like an unfair advantage for her, because everything is already dialed. She knows what to do, and if she doesn't, she's got the man right next to her to ask, hey, how should I be doing this?
Absolutely, and she feels the pressure of that too. Everyone has that expectations, and we have a high standard in our team and our family, and it's we're ready, and we have to deliver, and we're trained and we're prepared, and so she has that little bit of that weight on her shoulders. But you're right, she does have the advantage. We went over so much stuff, and I've seen her grow, and I think she's designed. The fight gods designed her for MMA. Though she's great at Muay Thai, I think she's really designed for MMA, and I think her striking is even better when she can use her hands and grab you a little bit and land some vicious knees and elbows. So. But yes, dude, I love it, man. I love being her coach, and I get to coach her all day, and she's good. It's tough in the striking department, bro. She won't listen to me at all. She might even punch me here and there, but but she's been good. She's been good for MMA camp overall. A little bit of scary carry, but still been good overall.
Hey, she is Filipino, so I am afraid of her. That's 100% true. And speaking of vicious striking, if I remember correctly, she had some vicious striking on your first date, correct?
Yeah, she did. She did. She gave me a little black eye on the first night. The truth is told, yes, she did. I probably deserved it,
Oh,
whether
whether you deserved it or not, you got it. She didn't really care if you deserved it or not, because she'd given it to you no matter what. Now, you talked about something. You mentioned pressure. And Gilbert, I wanted to ask you something, because it's something that I talked to Dominic Cruz about this 2 weeks ago. Now, you had a lot of fights that went by before you ever had your first loss on New Year's Eve to Ishida. I have a question for you, Gilbert. Obviously, you're a competitive guy, and training with Jake and the Diaz brothers, people who just like Jake is that guy who, even when people think he's not going to be able to win, he just refuses to lose. And I know you have a lot of that in yourself, but still, I want to ask you: was there a little bit of a release of pressure, or a little bit of a weight off your shoulders once you had your first loss? Did you experience that at all?
It was good to cross that bridge, and I don't know. I don't know if I could say it was a relief. There was frustration. I think there's a time when you start losing and you don't perform. It's almost like awakening of, if you want to do this or not, But, I guess everyone has their own story. But, no, I guess I got to disagree. Apple, there was no pressure off except, a realization of, you got to train harder, or you got to do this right if you want to be in it, The only time the pressure is off when I signed a nice fat contract. That's when the pressure came off.
Yeah, I understand. Well, that's a loss that you got back. But that's something that I've talked about with a lot of fighters is, if guys who went, 8, 9, 10, or in your case, almost 15 fights before they first lost, I asked them if they felt a lot of pressure, and they almost kind of were like happy that first loss is out of the way, and they didn't have to worry about it anymore because they were able to grow after that. So after you had that loss, did you just feel more of like a hunger or an anger that you wanted to prove yourself more and go get those wins?
I did. That's kind of what it was. I wasn't so mad that I lost, but I was upset that I didn't perform to the best of my ability, and I was like, man, that wasn't me out there. Then I lost to Josh Thompson again after that. And 2 fights, 2 out of 3 or something I lost, and that's when I just kind of was like, listen, Gil, do you want to make a career out of this, or are you just doing it for fun, and at that moment I knew I wanted to take it real serious, and and then I went on a tear for a long time and didn't lose for 11 or 12 fights again until I lost to Benson Henderson for the title, So
yeah, you beat a lot of guys after that. Rodrigo Dam, Ishida, you got your win back. That was I think it was in San Diego. Then you beat Josh.
Yeah, exactly.
You beat Josh. You beat Aoki. You beat Kawajiri. You beat Jorge Masvidal. Then you beat Josh a second time, and then you came over to the UFC. And man, you just had such a tough run. And for someone who's a friend of yours and such a fan of yours, it was really tough for me to watch some of those close fights. And it's one of those things, though. I mean, that's our sport. There's a winner, there's a loser. Everyone's tough, everyone's good, and sometimes it just doesn't go your way. And after all those wins, you've had some fights that didn't quite go your way, but they really could have. I mean, man, both Benson Henderson and Eddie Alvarez. A lot of people thought you won. I'm one of those people. But how hard is it going to be for you to get back on your horse and put together another winning streak?
I just got to reinvent myself a little bit and hit the drawing board and put things in perspective. Barboza was a tough fight, but I got to admit, I had a good time in that fight. And, he did bust up my leg, and he did an amazing job. But, just a little bit of ring rust from being out. I made a couple bad decisions, I think, that could have maybe, helped things go my way a little bit. But now that I got that out of the way, I'm trying to, regroup a little, and I'm contemplating the cut to maybe 145. And, it's not that, there's anyone I'm running from at 55. It's just, man, some of these guys are going and they're getting bigger and bigger. To me, Eddie's not the biggest, Benson wasn't the biggest, Pettis wasn't the biggest, but, these guys like Ferguson and Khabib and Nate Diaz, man, they're monsters there. And, and I'm thinking maybe I can have some new life at 145. But that's not for sure yet. I'm going to wait till the end of the year and make that decision. But I still have a lot of fight in me. Apple, you know, I love it. I love to do it. You know what I mean? Like, my body's a little banged up here and there, but I love, you know, challenging myself and trying new moves and testing myself against the best in the world. It's a good time, and I get paid for it. So, yeah, man, there's no running away right now. There's no one dominating me that makes me feel like I have to get out of this sport.
Well, you got a family to support, so everyone has to understand these guys. You guys got to make money and make as much as you can while you're still in it, because life of a fighter is a short life. But I was gonna say, you talk about moving down to 145. Did Barboza feel like he was a bigger, stronger guy? I mean, I can't imagine that Eddie Alvarez or Anthony Pettis felt that way.
Yeah, I would say, like, you know, I didn't feel that with Eddie. I didn't feel that really with Pettis too much. But Barboza, man, he just felt like a dense dude. You know, he has some big legs, and you know, I locked with him, and I was like, oh man, this guy's solid. And it's not that it's like, oh man, it's a bad thing. It's you know, they're bigger, man, and they're more durable. You know, and I feel like if I can make the 45s and be the bigger guy, I can do the more damage and be the more durable guy. And you know, and size does play a difference a little bit. And I think I'm in that. You know, 150s would be the perfect weight class for me, but it doesn't exist, you know, and, you know, that's just the way MMA is. You got to choose one or the other. So, you know, I'm contemplating it, and I like to eat, but, you know, I like to eat, you know, and, but, you know how it goes. Maybe I'll do it, you know, to go on one more last run, you know?
Well, for a lot of people who don't remember and haven't been around the sport of MMA for a long time, Gilbert, you were at one time the #1 ranked featherweight on the planet, correct?
That is correct, man. At that time, there was no Jose Aldo, and there was maybe a Uriah Faber at number 10, but I was hanging up at #1 in the world for a while, and yeah, man, it was a good time fighting in Shudo, and you know, eventually I had to go to 55s because that's where everyone was, and I went to Pride, and at that time there wasn't even a 55-pound weight class in the UFC when I went to Pride at
I remember.
160 pounds. It was a pretty interesting time. That's how long I've been around, and I'm hanging in.
Back in 2008 and those days, was it hard for you to make 45?
It was, you know, and that was like 2003, 2004, I think, is the last time I made it. 2004, 2005, maybe.
Oh, I didn't know it was that long.
The last time I made it. Yeah, and it was getting really hard because it was 143.5. It was like something like 63 kilograms or something. And hell yeah, it sucked. You know, hell yeah, it sucked. But you know, but I did feel pretty dang big, and I did feel like a pretty good size advantage. So, you know, people have mastered it nowadays, and that's why there's big 45ers out there.
That's what I was going to get to next. That's what I was going to get to next. The last thing I'm going to ask you about your weight is do you feel like cutting weight is getting easier as you learn more about your body?
I feel like yes, I feel like it could be in the diet and doing it, and more than that, like, it's obvious that it's getting easier for others, or people are figuring out how to, you know, be a 55-pounder, but walk around at 190, sometimes 195. I'm like, are you kidding me? You know? And,
yeah.
And you know, and I'm like, you know, I'm going to bed like 178, you know, waking up 74 or something. So, you know, that would put me 30 over, and that put me 20 over 55. But you know, with some slimming out and some good dieting, I think I could see 65 in no time. And then, you know, what is the 10 pounds to 55, or do we dig deep and do 20 to, you know, to 45? 15 would be perfect, you know, but it's just not existent. But yeah, you're right. I think people are getting better at it and smarter at it, and if they're evolving, you know, I better evolve too.
Yeah.
This is Erik Apple from American Animals, and if you're a real MMA fan, you know all about the UG, that's the underground, and mixedmartialarts.com. I'm on there every day, and so should you be. I'll tell you what, they do a podcast on Lineup Media FM every week, and it's hands down one of the best MMA podcasts out there. They get huge guests, and they do an incredible job getting access to every part of the sport. Check out the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and ugpodcast.com.
Welcome back to American Animals. Erik Apple, your host, still hanging out with you. Ian McCall is in Belfast, Northern Ireland, getting ready for his fight. Make sure you check him out this weekend. He is the main fight on the undercard. And we still have none other than El Nino, the former Strikeforce and the former featherweight #1 ranked fighter in the world, Gilbert Melendez, on the phone with us. Gilbert, I want to get your take on a couple things from UFC 205. Overall, were you impressed with the card? I thought it was pretty exciting.
Yeah, I thought it was very impressive and a lot of great fights, and many of them delivered in different kinds of ways. So, yeah, definitely. One for the books, definitely.
First thing, we were just talking about weight and the size of people. Is Little Heathen the biggest featherweight on the fucking planet or what? Jesus.
Yeah, he looked pretty big next to Frankie right there, and I could tell. I was like, oh, man, he got some size on him right there. And but that's a big 45er. And like you said, they're growing out there in that weight too.
Jeremy Stevens looks like a welterweight. He looked a solid 2 weight classes bigger than Frankie Edgar.
Yeah, I could see the size difference in that fight, but it didn't matter, I guess, right?
Yeah. And Frankie, I don't know how much interaction you've had with him. Frankie's such a nice guy and just such a hustler. It's hard not to be a fan of his because he just works so hard and he just hustles for 15 minutes and he's able to beat guys that you look at and you're like, man, that guy's bigger, stronger, hits harder, but he just outworks them, doesn't he?
He does, and he's very tactical. He mixes everything up great. All of a sudden he'll hit you with a quick 1-2 and you're swinging for the fences, and you miss him by a mile, and he's in on a double leg, and you defend it, but he's at a body lock, and he's on top of you, and you think you knocked him out, and then you're in a guillotine all of a sudden, he's well prepared, man. He's definitely the answer, as they say, and one of the best of our time. So yeah, I have respect for him.
Yeah, he's a hard worker, and Stevens is one of those guys that he can put someone down with one shot at any moment. And it was a nail biter if you were cheering for Frankie. That was a pretty exciting fight. Another fight I want to get your take on is how impressed were you with Khabib Nurmagomedov?
I was very impressed with his ground and pound, but I've always have been impressed with his ground and pound. But I got to give Michael Johnson credit. The first 2.5 minutes, he was landing some pretty good punches, and if he kind of calmed himself down, I think he could have landed a couple more counters. And I think one really rocked Khabib really well. Kind of woke him up and made him mad, and as soon as he gets to the ground, he's deadly. But I think, fighting Conor McGregor, and he has that big counter straight, 74-inch reach, and Khabib's is only 70, you got to be careful. You got to respect Conor's counter punch, and I think Khabib's striking, was the only thing I kind of kept an eye on him there. He got hit, but he did look amazing, and I was amazed with it. I hate to be like the devil's advocate here or sound like a hater, but I just noticed that is all I'm saying. But phenomenal ground and pound.
We'll get to
Michael Johnson's starfish.
We'll get to we'll get to Conor in a minute, but man, I mean, what scary and mean sounds like on the ground, and Khabib's the shots he was landing, the deep thud, like just the meat sound was just like, oh God, like those are real damaging. Those are brain damage shots. And did you hear him talking to Michael Johnson?
I did, man. I was like, I think he was telling him to tap out.
Yeah, he was telling him. That shit's terrifying. You got this Muslim Russian with this accent from Dagestan, this guy who fucking wrestled bears as a child, just beating the fuck out of your brain, telling you, I deserve this. I have to fight Conor. I have to fight Conor next. Just tap. Just give up. Just give up, bro.
Oh my God, dude. I know. He had a beautiful 2-on-1 on him. He was smashing them. Yelling stuff between the rounds, and I don't know what was going on, but it was a scary sight, and obviously, everyone was impressed with that, and I was as well, man. I was impressed, but I've seen him do that before. My God, I've seen him do that before.
I mean, it's funny. They have one of those clips you can probably find on YouTube if you care to. I don't know if you do, but our fans might want to hear. They have like those audio clips where you can like actually hear what people are saying in the corners and shit. And in the corner between the first and second, and between the second and third, Khabib was yelling at Dana and yelling at Michael Johnson's corner, "Just stop the fight. I don't want to hurt him. Just stop the fight. I'm gonna hurt your guy." And he fucking was. And then even when he got to the Kimura, he like stopped and like gave him a chance to tap. He didn't want to rip his fucking arm off.
Oh my God, dude! I know. The gentle. I guess he's a gentle warrior. I don't know, dude. It doesn't make sense.
He's definitely a gentleman. It's like it's so tough for that guy because he's one of the number 1 or number 2 contender, but But then you got to understand the other side of the sport. It's a business, right? And it's about marketing. And how do you market that guy in America? It's tough. So I don't know.
Yeah, really tough. But I think you have him fight. I think him
Tony.
fighting Tony Ferguson is what will likely happen, and I'd be okay to see that fight. You know what I mean? And I think everyone would be good too, and to give them a chance to both build their names. Because the winner of that one is, how could you deny that the winner of that one? Let Nate and Connor fight or something. I don't know, but you're right. It is a business. It's definitely a business. And
so moving on from what you said, do you see Connor taking a fight with, let's say, Khabib and Tony fight? Khabib wins. I don't see him even wanting to fight Khabib. I can't. I'll be shocked if he takes that fight. That's a lose-lose situation for him.
You know what? I agree. But I mean, it comes to a point where, who will he fight? He fights Nate next. I think that's a very challenging fight. They have unfinished business, and of course, the business side, they'll sell a shitload of tickets again, right?
Yeah.
You fight Ferguson or Khabib, you're right. Those guys aren't going to sell the tickets, and they have a chance to make a name off of you. But maybe you fight someone like George St. Pierre, maybe you fight somebody else, but eventually, you're going to have to fight. So if you fight everybody, you're going to have to fight somebody. You can't duck these guys forever. Not that he's ducking them, but I mean, you're going to have to give these guys a shot one day or another, or one time or another. It's going to have to happen,
Well, let's get to the rest of these fights real quick, and then I'll let you go. I know you guys got to get your rest. It's late. Miesha Tate fought. Miesha, she retired. We know Miesha from the old Strikeforce days. I thought Miesha was going to win that fight, and then I found out right before the fight, somebody told me she had a horrible camp, and she mentally wasn't into it this entire camp, and it definitely showed. She looked real flat in the fight.
Yeah, she's done enough for the sport. She's tired. And she's a great fighter still, but
she didn't want to be there. You could tell she didn't want to be there. Yoel Romero and Chris Weidman. God damn. Yoel Romero, when he's on, he is a scary motherfucker.
He is, and then Weidman was having some hope there, getting some takedowns. It looked like things were going good for him in his hometown, and then
where in the first round.
Yeah,
he had a little bit of hope, but I mean, come on. I mean, you're a wrestler. Look, it's like, yo, bro, you wrestled at Hofstra. I was in the Olympics. I mean, you saw Yoel do that little quick trip. He kind of fucking punked. I thought he punked Weidman a couple times.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that was honestly it's funny how that happens with the wrestlers. You see the guy who's a better wrestler, even if it's in a fight, it messes with you mentally. A lot of times that happens, and that might have been on Weidman's head. Exactly, that's Yoel Romero, the badass wrestler. Not I'm Chris Weidman, former UFC heavyweight champ. I mean,
middleweight
champ.
Middleweight
champ. But. You're right. He did. You could see that a little bit.
He punked him a couple times. Like, hey, you wrestled in college, buddy. I mean, let's be honest. Listen. If you're in the Olympics for ping pong, you're a fucking animal. If you make the real Olympics, not the Junior Olympics, not the Special Olympics, if you go to the real Olympics, you're a fucking badass. And if you go to the Olympics for wrestling, come on, you are the cream of the crop athlete in the world. And I mean, like I said, I felt like he punked Weidman a couple times.
Yeah, definitely, man.
And
Yoel Romero, he's a silver medalist in Greco-Roman, I believe, and his brother was, I think, a gold medalist in boxing or something like that. So
scary.
Yes, exactly. Probably just a scary family, dude.
and Yoel's 40 years old, and he's the most jacked dude in the UFC. I don't know.
I don't even know he's 40, bro. He looks amazing.
I don't know how he's only been popped once, because that dude looks like he's on everything but roller skates to me.
I don't know, man. You're asking the wrong guy.
All right, let's move on. Karolina and Joanna Champion, two Polish chicks fighting for the championship of the world, and Karolina won one round, had a moment there, but she looked relatively tough. Everyone thought she was going to get smashed.
I think so. I think she did look tough, especially when she landed that one big punch in the fourth. I thought she got momentum and started trying to throw a little bit harder. But yeah, she looked tough. But like she said, Joanna was her idol growing up, someone she looked up to, and she just got big sistered. I think at the end of the day, Joanna was just a better fighter, just more versatile and just more of a punch count. And she didn't get tired. She doesn't get tired, you know?
Yeah, Carolina, though, I mean, that's one of those fights where she lost, but her stock rose from that fight because she showed how tough she was. So last fight, the main event, Conor and Eddie Alvarez, someone you had a split decision with. Knowing Eddie as you do because you fought him, did that fight go the way you thought it did? It went the way I thought it was.
Yeah, and, luckily I was on ESPN calling it, so, I'm not lying, but I did. I called it exactly the same way. I said he has a 5-inch reach advantage. Conor's a beautiful counterpuncher. Jose Aldo blitzed in and got counterpunched, and Eddie Alvarez did the same thing. They leap in to overcompensate for their short arms, and he led with his head, and he led right into the counter. And just like what I thought would happen, and his chin has a lot of mileage on him. Though Conor hits hard, Eddie's known for getting wobbled up, and I think it was time for him. It was hard to recover, and I've seen Conor hit; he hits hard, so I kind of knew it was going to happen. I was just kind of surprised how, Eddie said it himself, man. He just did not fight smart. He didn't circle to the left. He kept dipping to the right to the left-hand side. It was. I don't know what was going on there. He just got a little emotional, I guess. But
I have a question.
Maybe Conor's that good. I don't know, but
I have a question for you. It's something we talked about before. Now, someone who has a background in wrestling like yourself might be able to help me with this. Now, Eddie didn't really get any wrestling off, but my question is it because Conor has great takedown defense, or is it because just the way he moves, he doesn't really ever get into position where you have a good shot?
I think so. I think he controls the distance and space very well, but we have seen him get taken down by Chad Mendes before, and I just think I think Eddie didn't close the distance enough to be able to take a solid penetration shot.
I never felt like Eddie got a good. He never got a deep shot, not even one.
Yeah, because he wasn't. I feel like he wasn't close enough, and and that was his main thing. Like, he had to figure out, how am I going to cover this 5-inch reach. And he leaped straight in. There was no, bobbing to the left or circling to the left or any real tactical way, Mike Tyson bob-heading moving forward to close that distance, and then before you could even think about shooting, you gotta try to close that distance to even get to that leg,
Yeah.
So, but Conor is light on the feet, man. He really is.
I feel like a couple things are working against him. Well, first of all, I think even though Eddie was the lightweight champion, I don't feel like he's the best lightweight in the UFC. He just happened to be the champion, similar to a Michael Bisping situation. Right place, right time. He worked hard. He got the win. He finally got the championship. But I think there's a lot of guys who would beat Eddie Alvarez. I think there's a lot of guys who beat Michael Bisping, even though I like both of them. I feel like, and I also feel like the Eddie Alvarez, and this, you've had a lot of main event fights. You know what it's like to be in the big show under the lights. I feel like Eddie Alvarez got overwhelmed by the moment, fighting the main event at Madison Square Garden against Conor McGregor, possibly the biggest pay-per-view of all time. I think he got overwhelmed, and I just think he wasn't in the moment because Conor looked like he was just seeing everything, and he was just there, living every second, and Alvarez looked like a bystander.
I agree. That, and I think he also, underestimated Conor. You had to give him some respect. He was saying oh man, he's never fought. No, it's like, this guy is the best. He's one of the best boxers in that division. Him and Nate are the best boxers in that division. And if you're a great boxer, all you really need to do is defend a takedown. Yeah. And then you're doing fine in MMA. And he didn't respect that striking at all. And I was like, I'm surprised he didn't respect it at all. And then he went in there and he saw it and didn't respect it, and next thing you know, that's what happened. Yeah.
Okay, so before we go, real quick, how much does that fight raise Nate Diaz's stock? Because Nate beat Conor earlier the year, and then now, Conor went out there and destroyed the lightweight champion. How much better does that make Nate look?
I think 100% better. It shows. Who's the real number one contender? If this guy's that bad, and I feel like a lot of people just forgot what happened the last few fights ago. After, it's the 2 belts.
Short memories.
The short memories with that. And I'm like, man, 2 fights ago, okay, there's the Jose Aldo. Let's just skip over the 2 Nate Diaz and go straight to the Eddie Alvarez. Look at him. It's amazing, and that's it though, and Nate's not a hater, and Conor's going to run with it. He's a smart man and there's no hating there. But, if someone was behind Nate a little bit more, I think they could, the promotion was behind him and pushed him more, I think he can get just as much love,
Well, Kavanaugh, Connor's coach, already said that on yesterday, he said that the next fight should be with Nate. They said that they believe Nate is the true number one contender at 155. So there you go.
Settled.
Yeah, when they're calling it out, I mean, but they're smart businessmen. They know they want to make money, so good for them.
Yeah.
When are we going to see Gilbert Melendez back? When are we going to see him compete?
Like I said, before the holidays are over, I'm gonna make my own decision. Talk it over with the familia and the team, and make the decision if we're gonna do that 145s. And I'm feeling strongly about it, and I'm kind of already trying to adapt right now and making some adjustments, and I'll make that decision by December. So, and once that decision is made, I'll be trying to fight the first quarter of next year. Absolutely,
Okay, and Gilbert, how do we find you on social media, Scrap Pack, all that? Tell us how to find you.
Yeah, man, we're, at Gilbert Melendez. You can find me. That's my Twitter. That's my Instagram. El Nino Training Center is the gym. Scrap Pack Fight Shop. And then Carrie Ann Melendez is the wifey. Carrie Ann Melendez 415. And check her out this Saturday on Spike TV. And she'll be, I think, the first fight of the night, MMA debut. Okay. So, yeah.
Well, good luck to Carrie. Pearly and I will get together just to watch that for you guys.
Yeah.
we'll get the Filipino connection going again just for you guys to watch that fight. And I want nothing more than the best for both of you two. I know you know that, brother. And I appreciate you coming on so much.
Nah, man, it's a pleasure, man. Anytime with Apple's a good time, so I appreciate it.
All right, Gilbert Melendez, thank you so much for checking us out here on American Animals. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, take it easy, brother.
All right, Gilbert Melendez in the house. El Nino, man, look at his record. He was a number 145 pounder at one time. He was a 55-pound champion of Strikeforce. His first two losses was to Ishida and to Josh Thompson. He got those both back. He was on top of the world for a while. Beat Aoki, beat Kawajiri, beat Thompson a second time. Man, then he had that split decision loss against Benson Henderson, which I thought he won. Then he beat Diego. He lost to Anthony Pettis. Split decision to Eddie Alvarez, could have gone either way. And then that fight against Edson Barboza. He jumped in against Barboza. He didn't fight for a little bit over a year. Had that ring rust and jumped in against a fucking badass. Tough fight. Gilbert Melendez, one of the best in the world, one of the best guys in the world. Awesome guy. He's family to us. And I really, really want to see Carrie do well. I know they work really hard and they put their heart and souls into it, as well as being parents to a beautiful daughter. So, man, I wish the best for them. Wish the best for them.
Hey, listeners, Erik Apple from American Animals, and today's podcast is brought to you by Amazon. It's really easy to support American Animals. Before you shop at Amazon, and we know you all do it, go to our website. That's the number 2, AmericanAnimals.com, and click on the Amazon banner on the homepage. It's that easy. Remember, that's 2AmericanAnimals.com, and click the Amazon banner before you shop.
All right, guys, welcome back to American Animals with your host, Erik Apple. Ian McCall is not here. He's going to be in Ireland. He's already in Ireland. We're going to see him get a big win here. Oh, I can't wait to see him win in the flyweight division, climb back up that ladder and get that title shot again soon. Remember, he's the last person to do any real damage to DJ. He had that draw with him that a lot of people thought he won. Since then, DJ's been on a tear. Let's see if Ian can get back there. Thanks so much to Gilbert Melendez for hanging out with us. Man, he's an awesome guy, and I really, really want to see Carrie win. I want to see him get back in the octagon here and get some wins. He's had some tough losses against the best in the world. But we'll see. We'll see here real soon. Thanks for hanging out with me here at American Animals. Make sure you check us out at 2AmericanAnimals on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, www.2AmericanAnimals.com. We will see you next week. Ian will be back with me here, Erik Apple. Thanks for listening to us here on the Dash Radio Network and the LMG Podcast Network.
This podcast was a presentation of LightUpMedia.fm.